when you take a selfie?
Of course, I'm like sweaty, but let's do it.
Yeah, we're too. It's so sweaty.
Right, let's do it.
Dior Menswear by Jonathan Anderson. This is Spring Summer 2027.
Hello, I'm Loic Prigent. Subscribe to the channel to see everything about fashion.
Jonathan Anderson himself explains his point of view.
Where are we?
We're in Paris in like 40 degrees.
There's a heat wave, but we are in an hôtel particulier and a garden, the Musée Nissim de Camondo. Everything is carefully curated, even small portraits by the 36-year-old artist Gian Giacomo Rossetti, who already collaborated with Jonathan Anderson and The first row is all the industry menswear editors-in-chief and a few stars. Jimin, Drew Starkey, James Marsden, Lucky Stanfield, Louis Garrel, Lil Simz, Paul Kircher. From CORTIS, Keonyo, Seongyeon and Junghoon, Younglin, Guitarrica de la Fuente.
Is it hot even for you?
It is hot even for me. It is like Seville in August, like in the worst year. That's crazy.
Did you swim in the canal?
I didn't have time. I wanted to be alive today.
How excited are you for this one?
Pretty excited. Yeah, it's very early in the morning.
Deng Wei, Robert Aramayo, Aaron Piper, Léo Reicht, Corentin Fila et Panayotis Pasco.
Pharrell Williams with his spouse.
I'm seated next to the great funniest man on earth, Jake Shane.
Rapper Young Lean is not accustomed to opening fans. Backstage is about to explode with pressure. Last touch-ups and go.
Look 1 Orlando Spence opens the show by plugging his phone so we can enjoy his music. The vibe is a Dior party.
I'm a super fan of Fred again, and I've always wanted to work with him. And I wanted him to do something which was like the ultimate like house party music at 2 a.m. in the morning, or 2 p.m. the next day. This idea of that moment when you go out and then you're still going until 2 p.m.
It's like Dior After Hours in a way?
Dior After Hours. It's definitely After Hours.
George Collingwood, Jack Paulson, the first 3 models wear a new suit called Bobby, a new shape. The break of the jacket is quite low. They're all muslin. The pied-pull of the jacket is printed, not woven. The Look 3 shirt has a trompe-l'œil hand embroidery of 2 beads.
The embroideries all come from the archive of Dior. They were swatches, these trompe-l'œil swatches that were done. We were going through the archive and we had found all these ones that were, some were realized into dresses, some were not. And I just like the idea of doing these blouses with this sort of like scarf that was a kind of like embroidered in.
Unseen Dior.
Unseen Dior. He did like versions of it, but he never did them as complete as that. He took fragments of them, but they were the initial, what was delivered to him as from the embroidery company. And I like this idea of something which was unresolved. So they're onto these sort of like pussy bow blouse shirts, or they're like little tangs. I have always loved, since I've been at Dior, is like when you look at him, he was obsessed by the 18th century. And how wrong and right that can be is sort of interesting today.
Harry Seymour's scarf is embroidered by Le Sage on his silk vest. This one is a motif from a 1971 Dior Haute Couture collection by Marc Bourron. We are Dior clubbing. Asa Gamlo Puanka and Oladipo Ezekiel are wearing cotton pajamas. Pajama party. It's not your classic pajama fabric, but something less fluid, more suited for the city, and it's a shearling color. It's kind of a workwear pajama hybrid. Samuel is a grungy boy with a distressed knit and patiné dirty luxe denim trousers. The muse of the collection, the face on the mood board, is the musician Jeff Buckley. Aljan Jandarbekov got the silver 5 pockets jeans with iridescent rainbow sequins. He's catching up all the lights in the gardens and in the club. It's not a garment, it's a stroboscope.
All the jeans are all like embroidered, like all the sequins, like a disco ball.
And Oscar Darden has a golden version.
I like this idea that it would be something that you could see like a guy with no top on at a rave. But then at the same time you have this sort of like Etonian kind of like Eton kid with like a jacket over the top. It could be his dad's or it could be, I like this idea that it's like playing with a character. This is his look and this is what he finds in the attic.
Andrea Villoresi with a tailored jacket in denim, broken, repaired, distressed, washed, and start again.
So it was like this idea of like walking through like rooms. I like this idea it's undone. It's not like everything's gone. And I always love the kind of patina of an old building. You never can really recreate it. You can't recreate it. I've always loved this museum. I bought this chair from my house, which is it's actually from an antique dealer, but it's actually from a house in Norfolk in England. It's got initials in it. And I like this idea of like an English chair in a French context. English furniture is inspired by French furniture. And then I was like, okay, let's recreate them.
Makeup is by Peter Phillips, and yes, he used his Dior Backstage Air Mist on models. Styling is by Benjamin Bruno. Look 10, Daniel Kahn with a piece inspired by the cruise show last month in LA. The fiber is opened and fringes are placed one by one. Bruno Vacara wears another version of the Bobby suit, straighter, with a black peak label for contrast. Leather pants with a denim patch that's added to create the déchiré effect. This one was tough to create. Dries Hufkens in a suede coat inspired by 18th century intellectual dandies, French ones, a triangle neck and Dior medallion buttons. Eton vibes to Kuroda in Pied de Poule, the Dior pattern that was on his first perfume packagings, a genius of marketing. Vuk Alexander with chains ripped denim, yes it's chains, garland of fine silver chains. Kurt Cobain on Avenue Montaigne, Avenue Cobain, and the shoes with embroidered flowers.
The boots, we did them all hand cobbled, they're all nailed, like all done traditionally. Then it's like the embroideries from the archive, then distressed. And then that's why I wanted we put more gravel down, so this idea that they became more and more dusty as the show went on. So it was like more kind of like a lived experience ultimately in terms of clothing, because clothing is to be worn.
J'ai remarqué les broderies, c'est très fin, j'ai aimé ces détails, les petites broderies sur les chaussures aussi, je trouve ça hyper beau, j'ai adoré.
Une veste précieuse pour Chaniel Olor with a very visual shearling lapel. On Carlo Barlozzi you can see how it wraps around the neck like a wave and screams luxury. And Yuga Kamara in a double-breasted classic version of the Bobby suit. Bobby the Dior mascot as it was the dog of Monsieur Dior. Adrian Timmermans in a very Alain Pacadis number, very decadent French aristocrat going to the Palace nightclub in 1981.
Yeah, and I quite like this idea that it's like, what is the new aristocracy today? Like, what is that? And I kind of like, it can be having money or having no money. It can be like just having fun. It's about how you hold yourself. And I think it was experimenting with this like guy that is like, knows how to dress or knows how to experiment with clothing.
All the polka dots are hand embroidered and created through tube beads. This is a price on request piece. A1 Monday and Julian Pollack with classic aviator jackets but made in knitwear.
And I quite like this idea of like the conflict between old and new, ultimately, young and old, and how they can meet together. It's like you have a suede jacket and you put it with a gold python short. It can be two types of men. It's just how you split the bottom.
Julian Thoming shows off a very interesting case of a manteau d'apparat made with check shirt fabric, a plastron, a wedding frac, but in a shirt kind of way with a hidden boutonnière. Jeff Buckley meets Versailles. Jan Peterson's Exploding Flower is a reference to the January 2026 Dior Haute Couture collection, and it's done in the couture fabrics. Note the crystal pavé sunglasses.
And what I saw today was the good taste of old money that new money can never understand. We're talking about fabrics, we're talking about application, we're talking about the way it falls on a young boy or a young man. For me, old money, unfortunately, it reigns supreme, and that's what I saw.
Janelia Widmers wears disco ball boots. Paco Aitson in a coat that Jonathan Anderson is establishing as a new Dior classic. Lazar Bismuth in super light knit for summer. Artem Melechko in another contrasted bobby suit. It's a new suit. Lander Zaman in a shirt that was deconstructed, reconstructed many times. Something similar to the walls of this Hôtel Particulier, which has seen so much parties and dramas. Look 34, Léon Lossi, a Japanese denim shirt that was patchworked and reworked as embroidered threads are pulled and then restitched. Ils se sont pas ennuyés. Roman Lenoir, Breeder Himes in a Napoleon coat, but in popeline de coton with piping, a super relaxed fabric for a super formal shape and regal buttons, contrast and surprise. Duta Sidibé in the Manteau Révolution with Brandebourg decorations made of silver threads. The coat is a reproduction of an historical piece, un manteau de livrée, manteau d'apparat. Look 40, Maurice Howard has the same aristocratic coat from 1775, 1775, silver thread embroideries of leaves, coquillages, swirls for a romantic effect. A coat that Jean-Jacques Rousseau could have worn. Andreas Kubo in a frac chemise with piping. This screams French acteur-réalisateur Louis Garrel.
Oh, tout de suite. Moi, j'ai un costume croisé, par exemple. Je trouve très élégant et qui a l'air de bien tomber. J'ai des grosses cuisses, il me faut un bon tailleur. Je crois que le costume est bien. Les sacs en couleur. C'est beau, ça donne, hein?
Otis Wen with a D neck. The neck is a D and IOR is written on the clavicule. Christ on Goya with a ballooning jacket. Jan Karolchuk in a super casual, slouchy, comfortable suit, but in suede.
The brooches, ultimately, as cliche as it is, it's like going back to this idea of like Dior, the garden, the idea of specimen, this idea of like something I liked which was very aristocratic about like a kind of like an old brooch that you're just like placing. They're all done out of wiring work of beads, and then they're made from copper, some of them. When I first started my career in fashion, I started making brooches. That was my first collection I ever did, was a collection of brooches and knitwear.
Still doing it?
Still doing it. Still doing it. Too much.
Malik Casanovas got the needle-punched fluffy denim. YQ with shredded denim trousers, the denim that was cut, incisé and fringed. Jet Laughlin with a Ibisenko sweater. I don't know if it's an Ibiza reference, but you can see this one on a ceramist/surfer living in Ibiza. A naive motif and naive palette and naive maille épaisse. Hakim Batz got the most fascinating coat with a checked plissé that looks like the flow of a river. It fluctuates, vibrates. Totally fascinating fabric effect. Cosmo Suffert with a knitted aviator jacket we previously saw. Great Gatsby vibe for Finn Wellman in the evening wear version of the Bobby, the new Dior tuxedo with a loose fit, and the 2027 Dior bow tie. Please note, Dior traditionally dictates the trends of ties and bow ties. Bon chic, bon Dior. Becca with the elongated lapel that screams new Dior coat. Dan Bird in a suit made with a fabric of calculated ondulation, intentional crumple, froissé intentionnel done by the menswear ateliers. Cruz Kalbetzer with underneath his jacket a tartan plaid of a scarf. This tartan exists on other outfits. Kelechi Noah en nœud-pape et chemise, mais chemise portée hors du pantalon stylisme, importance. On est sartorial, mais pas coinsos. Fashion, but fun. Dior, but don't worry. Very Alain Pacadis, a French dandy writer and party organizer. Adeni Ajaki in the Dior monogram, the Dior oblique, first created in 1967. Very Marc Bohan in the countryside. Closing the show, Orlando Spence is Robert de Montesquieu leaving the party. His zigzag of a bag was originally a blanket, a colorful chevron. The scarf is denim affiné et chaque frange en fil de soie est appliquée à la main. It took ages to design.
But yeah, no, very happy. Very happy. Very hot. Very happy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy Paris.
Thank you.
He's very nice.
He's a nice person, very kind.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Voilà, this was my Dior report, the menswear collection for Spring-Summer 2027
Merci.
by Jonathan Anderson during a heat wave in Paris. Subscribe to the channel to see the most dazzling collections. Leave a comment en français. What can you write in French? And send this to your elegant friends.